So great to be here. Welcome, Spirit Bus 33 fam. Grab some water, tea, your preferred beverage.
Your spiritual beings having a human experience.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for having this earth experience, same time as me. Before we get started, as always, check in. And what does your physical self need right now? If you're walking and your sock is all bunched up, stop, fix your sock, get that rock out of your shoe. If you're sitting and your shoulders are cold, grab a blanket. I remind you of this because many people have past or current shaping experiences, traumas that disconnect us from recognizing our own needs. So, part of the healing journey was creating a mindful daily flow that takes care of those needs. It creates safety, comfort, which allows more healing energy to flow in. So, I invite you, do a body scan, start at your head, go all the way down to your toes. Do this daily, maybe even multiple times a day if needed. It's wiring in the habit of your needs matter, wiring in the habit of checking in with your physical self, your avatar that's holding this consciousness. It's important work. Today we embark on Route 55. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. As I prepare for this journey, I pause and I'm grateful for clear blue skies. The color blue it's quite mesmerizing when we slow down and we look at the sky with a beginner's mind, a childlike mind, as if we've never seen blue before. If the color blue is anywhere in your reality right now, just pause this and just look. Or pick green, red, it doesn't matter the color. The purpose is really looking, seeing, appreciating. If perhaps you're colorblind, choose something else to focus on. Perhaps a couch, a chair, a bird. We can truly be in awe and grateful of so many things. If you don't have sight, focus on smell. Regardless of your circumstances, sit in a space of wonder, releasing the stress, the labels, the judgments, the chaos, the grind. Bring yourself back to a beginner's mind. Recognizing how each beautiful scene flows into the next. The tree into the sky, the chair into the room, fragrance to the next fragrance. Thich Nhat Hanh in Going Home shares, let us visualize the ocean with a multitude of waves. Imagine that we're a wave on the ocean and surrounding us are many, many waves. If the wave looks deeply within herself, she will realize that her being there depends on the presence of all the other waves. Her coming up, her going down, and her being big or small depends entirely on how other waves are. Looking into yourself, you touch the whole, you touch everything. You are conditioned by what is around you. In the teaching of Buddha, we learn that this is because that is. This is like this because that is like that. It is very simple teaching, but very deep, because the other waves are, this wave is. So I invite you, fam, I invite you to see yourself as this wave. Visualize in your own unique way how you flow throughout your day, how each interaction shifts the momentum of your wave. Perhaps it gives it speed. Maybe it slows it down. Maybe it adds in an intense current. Observing how each interaction is a dance together of sorts. Challenging yourself to flow into more spaces that lift you up. An adventure with a friend, a quiet afternoon sharing space with your partner, the feel of the bark on a tree, the warm embrace of the sun. Recognizing now how each experience impacts you, and how others are needed to be able to embark on that connection. You then start to see the similarities between you and all that can be observed, as if they are the same in different forms. Perhaps it's easier to see first if you use categories. A flower is the same as another kind, although there's 400,000 species of flowering plants. We can see them as the same, needing earth. They're beautiful, they're resilient, requiring the elements to survive. Same as you, same as me, all having this magical, intense earth experience full of duality, yin and yang. When we step out of seeing the likeness, the alike energy in everything, we start to judge ourselves. Our face too full, body shape to this, to that. We have this job, this amount of money, this vehicle. We start to lean into that judgment of self that turns into projections, jealousy, envy, fear, dislike. And then that requires the return to practicing, to the art of seeing ourselves as ultimately the same, breathing in the same air, each having an avatar encasing our consciousness, the ability to connect with the blue sky, the beginner's mind. Each day connecting more and more with the wisdom that we're granted throughout this earth experience. And while we recognize the sameness, we also honor our individual experience. For right at this moment, I'm creating this podcast episode. Others, similar, are creating theirs or other forms of art. But nobody is creating this exact one. Nobody except myself, and nobody can accept myself. Just the same as your creative endeavors, nobody can replicate them. They can build off of them, be inspired, just like I am of Thich Nhat Hanh. But ultimately, our own expression is unique. When we really embrace that, we can step out of any unhealthy, unproductive comparison and allow our authentic self to show up for others to see, feel, and also feel safe to do the same. Of course, this takes work, right? We've often created interesting lives full of interesting connections. When we embark on the healing journey, it's not that we just are automatically know how to do these things. Just like the waves, once we start to heal, we'll recognize ourselves flowing into spaces that match that frequency. A current of sorts pulling us in another direction. Sometimes the current is so fierce that our life looks completely different. Different people, geographical locations, thought processes, beliefs. Other times, we notice a change that needs to be made, knowing a new version is coming up soon. This comes from observing yourself through your day to day actions, interactions, observing yourself with loving awareness, getting curious when you feel out of alignment, when we recognize our waves are crashing up against others. This reminds me of a spot on Anna Maria Island called Bean Point, where the Gulf meets the Tampa Bay. Unsure if it's always this way, but the last time that I visited, the current it was so strong that you really had to be mindful. You had to be aware when you were standing in it, because one misstep, one foot sinking into the sand would topple you over, and the current was so strong. Like it had a mind of its own that wanted to take you directly into the bay. These strong currents, they can be felt within too. A harsh opinion, tone of voice, face expression, pushing your truth onto others, sweeping the person across from you into another location, into a different emotional current. So I invite you, observe yourself over the next week. Are you being pulled into other people's currents? Are you creating currents? I'm not talking about healthy boundaries and standing up for ourselves, advocating for ourselves. Talking about working on staying in an intentional, harmonious flow, which can assist you with returning or staying in with what some people call nirvana. It'll help us to keep our creative energy flowing, our authenticity shining, seeing the connection between ourselves and everything around us, handling our emotions easier, and allowing others to fully have their own experience, their own magical, intense experience, right alongside our magical, intense experience. A 3-card draw from the Osho deck. First card, moment to moment. In order to be able to stay in this flow, we need to be present. And in order to be able to be present, there has to be, the art of mindfulness coming along with you throughout your day, to where you're aware, you're in that observer state of mind, instead of getting like pulled into automatic reactions, trauma responses. So this moment to moment card is saying each step, try to be present, mindful, observe yourself moment to moment, because we will come into contact with waves of energy. When we are around other people, we're experiencing their unique wave. Certain geographical locations might have a different energetic feel to them. If you're hungry, if you're tired, if you're lonely, you'll notice a different current running through your body. And that brings me back to that body scan and how important that is to do, to make sure that you're not pushing yourself too far when you're hungry or dehydrated or you need to rest. So that when you are flowing moment to moment, you can do exactly what you need to stay in that harmonious flow. Second card, slowing down, turtle energy there. We don't have to pay attention to every single thought that comes in. We can slow them down with intentional thought. We can recognize the beauty. Of course, I'm not talking about the head in the sand, not paying attention to reality, not preparing. But we don't have to live there. We don't have to live in fear. We don't have to live in judgment. We can redirect ourselves out of that. We can come out of our shell and redirect ourselves to what is going right. What are we grateful for right now? What is going right in our life? What we think about expands. The last card, comparison. To really have an authentic experience is working on not getting caught up in those comparisons. As you look back through different chapters, when you've done some work on yourself, you can see that often one chapter was really needed to get to the next. So sometimes we get stuck in this idea of comparing ourselves to what people have or what we don't have or this or that, when we're exactly where we need to be to reach the next version of ourselves. And it's so beautiful to have such a huge melting pot of so many different unique expressions of ultimately the same energy. Conversations with Soul deck, light the fire within. When I read this card and I see the beautiful picture that she painted, I feel that it's really a calling when we're standing in our authentic expression and we light that fire within, we start showing up in our creative energy. And each one of us has beautiful gifts, some that we've discovered and some that we have yet to discover. So lighting that fire within is really acting on those beautiful expressions, is leaning into those whispers that are calling your name, that's saying, this is for you. It's not keeping ourselves small. It's not going into that turtle shell. It's standing grounded and strong and tall amongst the currents and saying, I'm going to have this earth experience to the fullest of my capabilities. I'm going to lean into different expressions. I'm going to create. I'm going to do my best to not take this experience for granted. A final thought from Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements. This: always do your best. Whatever life takes away from you, let it go. When you surrender and let go of the past, you'll allow yourself to be fully alive in the moment. Letting go of the past means that you can enjoy the dream that is happening right now. And with that, fam, thank you for taking a ride on this bus. Thank you for being here. I truly appreciate all of you for being part of my creative expression. Uh, yes, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. We are spiritual beings having a human experience.